Hey, look, you're live on CAD Plays.
Oh. I think it might be Verizon in my area. That's
Yep,
why.
that's what I figured. Because if that's your ISP, that's the one you got to be looking for. Whatever your ISP is, that's who you got to be looking at there with the angry eyes.
Yeah, because I'm looking at outages reported and stuff, and Verizon is like skyrocketing in the like at 5 p.m.
As it normally does.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, it's probably Verizon.
They be goofing.
Already said
Later.
that.
Was that guy?
Door pants.
では、前に出ます。
Hello! How's it going, guys? Sorry I'm running a little bit behind here. I was trying to get the last of my dailies done in Monster Hunter. So I should be good for the Flame Feet stuff now. Okay. Oh, that's not plugged in. Chat, I got the go live tweet out. Do me the favor, go give that some love. This is the fantastic art that we used yesterday. And in the meantime, let me grab you guys today's artwork. Sora, thank you for the 18 months. Appreciate that, my man. Jack, can we get some love for Sora? Okay. Think we are good to go here. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing a little bit good. I realized that I actually got a little sunburned on my arm. From some of the stuff that I was doing. My neck and my arms got a little burnt. Okay, here is today's artwork. Do me the favor, go give the artist some love. And again, we get the go live tweet out as well. Hope you guys are doing good today. We are... What am I doing? I don't know why that was selected, but there we go. We are going to have a lot to cover today, so I definitely need to get the ball rolling here. But, of course, I start out with an immediate mistake as to whatever the heck that was. I think it was supposed to be doing the plug suit, and that's what I thought it was doing, and instead I was targeting with Castoria's skill. Yeah, we'll talk all about the Medea and Muramasa buffs, because I at least have some like takes that are probably not going to be the same as what you guys would always find, right? I've tried telling you guys this stuff before, but you guys know, like, my take on buffs usually is a little bit different than people, because honestly, I think I at least choose to look at and approach buffs from both a player and a developer standpoint. So a lot of the times people don't agree with me on that sort of thing. Though, to be fair, I'm usually pretty good on like the actual performance of buffs and that sort of stuff. You think only buff Fate Stay Night and other Fate IP characters only? Yes. Which means that everybody is on the table. Because if you're released into the game, then you are clearly a Fate IP character, right? Like Arcuate from Fate Grand Order. Definitely get a 120 Olga. I was leveling up my Olga earlier today, and I laughed because I literally, like... I literally super sucked her the entire way. Like, I think out of the, like, 7 times I pressed the leveling button, only 1 time did it not suck. And I was like, what the heck? So I was like, I'll take it. Wolfie wishes it was an Arthur buff. I mean, you guys know me. I was hoping it was going to be an Artoria buff. Because we did have a teased Artoria buff that got leaked by the devs. It is what it is. It may have just been something internally that they were testing, and it may never see the light of day now. But I was hoping it's like, oh yeah, it's 10th Annie, like that. Surely that's a thing, right? But yeah, if not Artoria, I would have been like immediately on the like they need to buff Arthur train. And I'm really surprised that still to this day, they've really just have not given Arthur what he needs. You know, that buff could be something for the finale. I mean, I think you could make the same argument for an Artoria or an Arthur buff as well. No, YouTube stream, Cad? YouTube streams should be live. I see people on the YouTube side, so. But just in case people are wondering, I am on the CAD Plays channel. So my main account at Cadroth is not being used for live streams anymore. We started up a second account for VOD retention and stuff like that. That way it wouldn't screw with the algorithm and things on the main channel. But there was a little bit of a hiccup as I started to go stream, as it didn't start right away and it hitched, and I had to I basically had to go back and like restart it. That could also be why. It's been on Cat Plays for a few months now. Yeah. That's why I just remind people every now and then, because I realized maybe people weren't around for that. Hello, YouTube people. Thank you for sounding off. I guess, the wrong servant for day one. I mean, I think a lot of people did. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think a lot of people had Muramasa on the list of needs to buff, right? It doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that didn't think he needed a buff. I think there are, but like, I think most people probably assumed this was a different unit. So, it is what it is. That's why the oldest stream is 6 months ago? Correct. Yeah, I didn't want to delete the old streams. So like they're still there, but the algorithm is slowly healing itself over time. Do I even need to do anything on NA? Yeah, I don't think I do. That's I don't need that. Like that's not even worth the extra run. Let's see. Is this still pre-reset? It is, so I've done all of my stuff. Chat. Never mind. We're not gonna do summer on it, eh? Whee! That's gonna save me quite a bit of time. We're just gonna do that. I'll revisit that later. And then let me deal with the alt account here real fast. I don't know if this is a reference to like the fact that it got broken by the devs, or if he's saying that like other than that, he has now accidentally broken his streak. But that is oof. Like, that is so oof if that's the case. What's up, Fuzzy? New player account plays summer? New player account's basically done with summer. New player account made summer its bitch. Saber's buff will come out at the same time as Silk Song, so never? Damn, what the heck? It'll be years before I run out of blue apple seedlings. That's because you don't make them, right? I like the 30-ish% for reverse scales on the 90++ node here. Yeah, I mean, the ++ node's really good. This account just, like, it can do the ++ node. It just takes a long time. It's not worth. Like, it's like making this a 4 or a 5 turn versus the ++ node being a 10+ turn. And it's like, I'd rather not. Give me the Brave Chain. I did make some predictions about the upcoming buffs. You can check that on today's video. It's actually in the like in the contents when I went over the stuff, because people were all screaming that I called the Medea buff, and I'm like, wasn't that hard of a call? I think a lot of that, it really just boiled down to, like, who did I see them buffing? And chat, Medea has largely been untouched over, like, the course of how many years now? Yeah, so it's like, it is what it is. I think that was a pretty easy prediction. The problem that we're going to have, and I'm going to talk about that when we start talking about the buffs, is like, we are literally going to end up in a weird spot where Medea needs to, how should I put it? She basically needs to actually have, like, some sort of fix to her current situation. But if they fix it, then you have people that, one, you already have people now post this buff that are dead in a ditch. You start putting the majority of the caster class dead in a ditch if they start fixing Medea. So that's not good. Like, they've got to start getting back and actually buffing some of these characters. I mean, support Medea is good. Listen, we can make arguments about support, right? When a character, I guess I'm just taking the gold C. When a character is strong enough that they basically can like toss their weight around and like impart a lot of like upward pressure on the other units. So like a similar example of this would be like Ushi Wakamaru, okay, as a 3-star. Or even like Caesar and Bedivere as these sabers, or Caster Coop. That's another caster if you want an example. There's numerous examples of this. When you start getting into that scenario, it doesn't really matter what their utility is. What matters is that the other higher rarity units are not stronger. That's the problem. So when you have units that are functionally free because they are, you know, FP units, and you have units that you have to spend your hard-earned quartz on, those units need to be better. That's it's the truth of the matter. Like, because no player is going to want to roll for a unit that is performing worse than a 3-star in a lot of ways, right? I'm not talking about like in just one niche. I'm talking about like overall. So like we can bring up the fact that, yeah, she has some support applications, but when we have a unit already that's basically killed off by this buff, it's not a good thing. And it's like, why would anyone roll that character? Well, maybe they really like the character is the argument. It's not a good argument. It's like, naturally, people are not going to want to do that. I hope that's strong enough to kill. Oh, wow. That was a lucky 20% or 40%, I think it was in the end. Crit. So damn lucky. Oh, and I've got that. I really wanted to pop the crit skill, but I guess not. Who did Medea's buff kill? Take a guess. What do you guys think? Actually, the Medea buff has me confident the 2 5-star casters are single target. It wouldn't surprise me. Yep, Age got it. The Medea buff killed Midrash, aka Sheba. Because Sheba basically can't touch Black Grail. Sheba doesn't really have a niche. And Sheba straight up lacks the charge to do anything about it. So, like, when you've got a class where most units have 50% or more charge. And then you got Sheba rolling around where after a buff, she has 30%. It's not good. How many SSRs does the noob account have? It's doing pretty good in that regard already. Like, for how old it is and the fact that it's not rolling GSSRs. I already explained that one when we were rolling last night. But quite literally, if this account had GSSRs too, this account would be just disgusting. Just actually disgusting. So, again, you guys can see we've got Waver, we've got Hoku Saber, we've got Castoria, we've got Ace, we've got Nito Chris, we've got Jerker, we've got Oberon, and Proto Merlin. So, like, all this account really needs is a good AoE at the moment. However, I am abstaining currently from rolling a Buki because there are plenty of AoE clears, but in September we have an actual like Castoria rate up, and that probably matters more than anything else I can get on this account. Once I get Castoria, this account is like already free to roll whatever it wants. Like, it literally, I didn't realize it at the time, but this account, like, it low-key started at such a good time. And I could not have, like, planned that to the degree that it happened. Like, I just ended up kind of getting lucky in that regard. Okay, there's that. It doesn't need to purchase those. Are you kidding me? It has like one more run, I think it has to do. There's that. There's all my gold. There's that. There's all my silver. Yeah, so the new player account is done with the event except for it literally needs 20 more bronze. And unfortunately, I can't convert down to bronze. I can only convert up. Chat would riot if he luck sacked Ibuki as well. You're not wrong. I guess I figured she was already dead, so I didn't think of her. Yeah, Sheba was dead for a while, but then that buff kind of brought her back, and she's been barely hanging on. And ironically enough, Sheba was one. I also asked. Well, you know, I'm not going to spoil. We'll get to that, you know, here in a minute, just so that chat can see. Let me see, because I don't remember if it counted for today or not, and when the reset for it is. But can I do my daily story? Yes, I can do my daily story pull. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. It's a servant! It's nothing! It's a guy that got an animation update. Like 3 p.m. your time. Yeah, I always like get JP's resets mixed up in my mind, so it is what it is. I'm just checking to see if there's like anything else there. So at least I have chat. I have what? Spicy games, spicy. I literally just cleared that out earlier, but I guess the 3 p.m. reset happened. Yeah, how did they give us so damn much? I literally had just pulled stuff out of my mailbox. I guess it was that plus the dailies. Just 1 second here, chat. Let's finish the Xiangyu. By the way, this is a preview of the way the new leveling system works on JP. We just had a 20 stack that was already loaded in, and you can see it's already loaded in again. Like, I literally don't have to do anything. The game just auto-loads it. The only problem I've had with that is with regards to things like foes. And you can see if you hit it, and it has to, well, and it didn't do it. I was going to say, if you hit the cap and it has to refund, it will. I also confirmed earlier today, because I had to clear out my inventory from the rolls last night, that if you're making CE bombs, the same thing happens. If you go over cap on a CE bomb from a proc, or like just using too many CEs somehow, there you go. It'll refund you. And I was really surprised. I did not expect that they would do that. More for pity. Actually, I need to foe his ass. Filter. I have all these 40 stacks of foes. They're getting kind of annoying, not gonna lie. Because it's like, oh, I have to pull out a 40 stack. I'll pull that out. I guess I won't finish the HP foes until I have another unit I need to foe. The extra one in banners in 2 days to roll, though. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because, you know, people brought up, like, are we going to see already, like, somehow another banner for Olga? I don't think you will, because quite literally she's already currently on rate up. So I think the game will just say, no, it is what it is, and you're not gonna have access to it. Olga's Extra 2? Extra 2 comes out same day, supposedly. At least that is my understanding of the way this has been. I don't really... Oh. To say, I don't really need to nickel and dime these. No. No. The 27th is supposedly just a second date for the storm pods. I've talked to 2 people about this now because this also confused me and I don't know why they did it this way. Trubs even yelled at me over. He's like, what don't you understand? And I'm like, this seems really stupid. Yeah, I can't tell you when the banners are. I can only tell you that we are getting the extra 1 and extra 2 grand systems on the 6th. So it's really weird. And then we have a time period at the 6th for like a week of free storm pods. And then also one on like I think it's like the 27th. There is another free storm pod time period. So basically, the one on the 6th is pre-summer, and the one on the 7th is during. Sorry, 27th. So that'll probably be like second or third week of summer. Because first part ends on the 13th, yeah. I managed to get my target, which was Lady Avalon. That was dangerous. I would not have done that with summer coming up, but as long as you got her. Yeah. Okay, chat, which one do you guys want first? Do you guys want the buffs or do you want Olga first? I'll leave this up to you. Was Famitsu on Wednesday or tomorrow? Wednesday. Buffs, Olga, 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 buffs, Olga, 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 buffs, buffs. Personally, Olga. Alright, so it seems like Olga wins. Okay. I probably actually I don't Avalon, if you're here, you didn't roll her, did you? I probably gotta get footage. Did I finish off leveling her skills? I did. I'm a crazy rainbow star. Wait, this is JP. God, getting that second copy helped. Now I only gotta go to Bond 10. I don't have to go to like some absurd Bond level with her. So let's see. That's basically 110. That'll be 12 is the next 30. 14 is the 30 after that. And then 16 if I can manage to bond her up again. Wait, am I still? I may have to go to bond 11. It's bond 12 if you have mana loading. I don't think I do on her. Yeah, I don't. So I haven't unlocked and append on her yet. Hmm. I'm hit with the hardest nostalgia. Yeah. Let me think about this. Can I? Put her back at Ascension 2 so she has the 300% charge. Wait, did that actually take? Okay, yes. So we still also have the writer grand coming, chat. So I have to get that done. And then, like I said, in the back line here, I've got MHX, which she's bond 7 already, but that's going to be a bit spicy. So the goal will be getting her 120 before the Assassin Grand comes. So I think I have like probably like a month and a half for that. I doubt I can make the bond in time, unfortunately, but I can try. Hold on. Am I being dumb? I feel like I'm being dumb. Oh god, Phantom's a wreck trying to find the Olga page. So I can get away with a 30%er. All right, chat, give me 1 second here. We're going to be recording this for the video. Mm. Doesn't matter. I love that MP. So that barely killed, which is freaking hilarious to me. Let me switch this around. Anyone have their Olga up, actually? Just out of curiosity. Digi does with, what's the C? 50% charge? I'd prefer no charge. That'll work. Yeah, let's put her back in. I realized I can at least do that. Okay, it's also third ascension. That's because I don't have the append. I can't make that work. This might not work. I'll have to double check this. I don't think I like this MP as much, though, unfortunately. I get that it's like, it has a lot of meaning, but I prefer the first two stage MPs. Yeah, I can't do this. God, that is so annoying. All right, hold on, chat. I'm gonna go fix that right now if I can. I like that extra attack. It is nice. Oh. That new mat is not approved. Hey, Cece, how's it going? Now back home. Glad you made it back safely. I hope you did enjoy yourself. Did you get anything interesting merch-wise? All right, chat. Let's try this again. This time, I'm gonna get it right. Proceeds to not be able to find any Olgas. No. My god, somebody already 120'd their Olga. Legitimate degens, dude. Granted, I can't talk. I literally 120'd my Castoria Berserker day one without touching a node. And there's 4 times suck right now, so it's definitely possible. Oh, come on. Where's the Olgas? They gotta give us an extra one and an extra 2 support slot, man. It's 100% charge. Looking for like a Black Grail with at least, I think, the second Depend and third Ascension. Nice, Hardus. That might work. That will not work. Oh my god. I love how, like, you see multiple candidates and then suddenly there's none. Oops, that's too far. The crit one and... bro, what? Sometimes I question people's choices. We tried double Olga Marie. That was literally the next one I was going to do, but the problem is quite literally needing to find somebody to fill this comp. No, not right. See. Check the all slot. Nope. Nope. SMH. Lovely Grand Benny. My JP account's got some really stacked people on it. Nice 120 seal. I don't even want to think about the kind of damage a 120 seal puts out. Like, that is like Castoria Berserker level of like bullshit. It's just too much damage for the game. Also, chat, I'm sorry. I know I'm not on camera at the moment, but please be patient. Bear with me. I'm sorry, I did not mean for this to happen. I just realized that we probably were not... Somebody wanted to flex. Somebody... Oh, no! No! So close. Wait, power? SMH. The problem is, it's not that there aren't Olgas up, it's that I have to find an Olga that matches. Couldn't be ASDF, could it? You beautiful bastard. Wait, is she in the third ascension? Is she in the third ascension? Yes. Okay. Okay, now we can do this. Put mine up if you're willing to add. On JP, you guys can always add me. Oh, God, I fucked it up. I... No, you know what? We can go with mine. We can go with mine. No, we can't. I just hate myself right now. I pressed one button wrong. One fucking button wrong. Oh, that just makes me so livid on so many levels, dude. At this point, we just send it. And I pray to God one of my Olgas can carry. Where do I find your code? It's exclamation point FC. But yeah, JP is always open. You guys can always feel free to add. Let me know though if you get rejected because I have too many like requests. That is a thing. Sometimes it'll say I'm full. Yeah, no, that'll work. I don't know how that worked, but it did. Like, it worked for getting me out of the node. It did not work for the purposes of the recording, unfortunately. Blue, thank you for the 49. Appreciate it, my dude. It's not a difficult comp. I just, like, I fucked it up. And unfortunately, I'm trying to handle the first Olga slot myself and let the support handle the second Olga slot because the second slot's not as bad as in terms of a requirement, but Ah. I guess I get why people are doing the extra attack with her. I just like I I mean, I'm not gonna press the skill, so it technically works, chat. It technically works. Okay, I swear to God, I'm getting it right this time. Sorry, I didn't want to mess that up. So that's why I wasn't saying anything. Need faux pas for extra attack too. That'd be wild. Okay, that comp's done, so chat wants Mash Paladin, huh? I think I'll do this and I'll do one more. But I need Mash's Append Lord. Let me make sure that I have it on JP. I'm just literally gonna switch it. I don't see the point in unlocking it and having to level it up. It actually works. Oh god, which... No, not that. Not that. Is it this one? Yeah, okay. I get so confused and twisted around by this shit now. Let's see if I can fit a 1-star. I can. Can actually fit a 2-star, so let's do that. There's Salome in the back there. Make sure I got everything else set up. What do I want to use here? I mean, royalties a ton, but let's just use, where's Arctic? Am I blind? There it is. Is this not a starting charge for MASH? Also, what is that? What even is that CE? I just realized. Oh, shit. Um... Back down to a 1-star, chat. And then get rid of that. And there we go. Good God. Song choice giving you whiplash? Yeah, as it should. Okay, so that one's done. Let's do like one more, chat. I think. Do we want like just a simple like Olga focused comp? Like the Merlin comp? Oh my god. Now. And then we can get started on the actual Olga review. Thick Pinnas here. Wait, what did I do with mash? Oh, I switched mash. Okay. Um. Get back in your OG outfit, mash. Drask, thank you for the follow. Let me see. What else do I want? I guess I'll just sub for Merlin over here. Alright, hold on. Put her in first ascension. Just for some variety here. Aaron, thank you for the 49. Appreciate it, my dude. Sorry I'm not visible at the moment. We're recording. Okay, should be good enough. I may be crazy. Longest MP ever? I don't think it's that long. I think it's like maybe like 9 seconds, which is pretty average. Okay, that should be plenty for OKest. Let's switch back, chat, so that I can exist again. Ah, yeah. I'm sorry that took so long. I did not think that that was gonna be like that. Okay, like that was just kind of crazy. Olga walking in her NP is the most frames in this game. You're probably not wrong, but as we know, somebody at the like dev studios probably has a foot fetish. So it is what it is. Okay. Let's pull up Yolga. All this. Oh my god. I have one thing after another there. Actually, I got too many browsers open. There's the grand score stuff. Well, that'll have to get updated. Deep desert map, blood transfusion. Don't ask me why that's a thing. Meme Oriole quest. I don't even know what that is, but we're closing it. Yeah, that was the thing we were going over the other day. And close that. Close that, close that. Wait, which one of these is which? Okay, so we can close that. There we go. Much less tabs open. All right. You're a black background on the camera? I know. I do this on purpose when I'm recording. It's for the editor, not for me, chat. And it's not for you. Check something though. Okay. This is working. Let's see. Do they actually have the class expansion here? This is not right. Oh wait, no. Hold on. I'm reading their chart wrong. Yeah, she's 1.0 times most classes, 2.0 times Berserker, Moon Cancer, yes, and Foreigner, yes. Okay. It doesn't change with Ascension. No, I know. I just was trying to see, like, did they have it, like, messed up? Okay. I think we're gonna open everything ahead of time on this, because I feel like this is gonna get really freaking weird if I don't order this ahead of time. I don't remember this one. Oh, this is this year's Gouda Gouda. Interesting. Huh. I don't remember this one. Is this a gotcha C? Yeah. I'm not gonna bother with limited zero over. And let me check one more thing here. Yeah. Yeah. So I did get all that right. Okay. Cat, do you see why maybe I took a little bit more time on this one? Alright, let's organize all this. So I got my C's all the way up through here. My charge scenarios. I think I want right after the charge scenarios. This is K-scope? Okay. Wait. Wait, why did we have this one? Because you can black rail. Wouldn't you not need K-scope in this? Like, this feels bad? Oh, to use skill 3. Okay, okay. No, never mind. Never mind. Forgive me. I'm getting lost in the sauce. There's too many options. Have to forgive me, chat. Okay. So, needless to say, we did the math. I'm going to try to make this as concise of a review as I can, because this is going to drag on forever if I don't, chat. So, expect me to go a little bit faster here. Hey guys, my name's Kadroth, and today I'm going to be talking to you about JP's newest anniversary unit, Olga Marie, aka Olga Marie Animosphere, who is finally returning to FGO. Obviously, everybody's really ecstatic about her. I'm not going to waste too much time flapping my gums. She's a strong unit. Let's get right in and let's talk about her. So, right off the bat, she is an unbeast. This is not your normal class. Obviously, a lot of people were expecting her to just be a beast, but she is a little bit different in the sense that she kind of functions a little bit like a ruler instead of a beast. But keep in mind that she still, for all intents and purposes, is a beast. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Needless to say, as we start to look at her stats here right off the bat, you guys can see she gets about 10.8k attack. It's actually not super powerful. This is probably done to limit the capacity on her carding, particularly, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. There's a whole lot you can do to amplify her damage. She does have a lot of steroids baked in. Her HP value is also going to be at about 15k. This is at least beefy for her. It's definitely going to help her stay alive down the stretch and things, especially given the fact she does have a demerit on one of her skills that actually does drain the party's HP. She is Star Attribute in her first two stages and Man Attribute in her third stage. Basically, we're going to be reviewing almost two different units here because of this. Because a lot of Olga's stuff changes depending on if you have her in the first two forms or the third form. That's basically the way to understand her, is that she works similar to other units out there that have the ability to change what their stuff does in different ascensions. She is basically going to have 99 star absorption, pretty dead on even in the middle of the pack. Star generation of 9.8, also pretty samey. NP charge attack rate's a little bit lower at 0.43, but that shouldn't be too much of a concern with how much charge she has in her kit. NP charge defense is 3%. Her death rate is 18.3, which is at least lower than average, and her alignment is lawful evil in stage 1 and 2, and lawful good in stage 3. Her gender is female. Her basic traits are Divinity, Intima Elish Nullification, Humanoid, and Servant, which is not a whole lot, but she does get different traits depending on which stage she's in. So if she is in the first two Ascension stages, she will get Giant, Space Flightable Servant, and Super Large. And if she's in the third stage, she will get Defender, Hominide Servant, and Living Human. So definitely some interesting stuff there. Her overall deck is double Buster, double Arts with a single quick card here. Definitely nothing too crazy about this. It's just a good, solid deck. And we do have pretty good hit counts on it, though I did see some people lamenting over the fact that, unfortunately, unlike in LB7, Olga does not have her actual AoE Buster attack. So that is something that they removed, probably because of the ramifications of certain attacks. I think they saw just how strong units that can self-card lock all of their own cards can be with regards to the likes of Seal, and I think they probably wanted to dial that back in after a little bit there, and that's probably why we don't see it in this form. Now, I told you her class is a little bit weird, so you guys can see she has a lot of the same advantages and disadvantages that a ruler would have. The exception being that she's also effective against foreigners. But it doesn't really stop there, because true to her form in being a beast, she actually will have semi-effectiveness against pretty much every class in the game, and it's really just going to depend on what you're trying to do, because it will depend on her ascension level that you keep her in, and again, it is just going to be an interesting thing compared to other beasts that naturally have like either a bonus against the extra classes like in Space Erish's case, or a bonus against the Knight and Cavalry classes like in Draco's case. Instead, you, Olga, can basically choose which one she wants to have the bonus to as a whole, but unlike the others, hers will be limited by a skill. So that's going to be something that you'll have to watch out for. She will have a time duration on that advantage, unlike the other beasts that kind of just have it baked into their kit. So think of it almost similarly to how Kama has anti-alter ego on her third skill. As long as it's up, you're good, but if it goes down, you may be in trouble depending on you and what you're facing. So basically, as we look to the first skill here, you guys can see she has a whole laundry list of effects. The thing you need to know is this is going to reduce her own skill's cooldown by 2. This is a really, really strong capability, so you usually want to pop this skill last rather than first in a sequence of skill usages. She will also increase her own NP damage for 3 turns by 30%, and the party's command cards will not appear except for herself for 1 time, 1 turn. This means it will completely reshuffle the cards and just give you Olga's cards for that turn. As you can see, it says it randomly deals 5 new command cards at that point, but it's only going to be Olga, so it doesn't really matter. But this does reset the deck, so it becomes the first turn of a new command card cycle afterwards. She will also gain critical stars all the way up to 50 at rank 10, so it's a massive star bomb on top of locking in all of her cards. It will seal all enemies' NPs for 1 turn, and it will reduce all enemies' healing received for 3 turns by up to 50%. Now, this skill is on a 7-turn cooldown, and it will change depending on the stage, but it's probably a good idea to understand that this 7-turn cooldown is going to be active on pretty much all of her skills. So that's where you're going to really want to, again, utilize the 2-turn cooldown to reduce everything. You do have other means of doing so, like the 5th Append, or maybe trying to use Koyanskaya's, or something like the Atlas Academy Mystic Code. All of those are viable options for getting this skill count down. So it's definitely something for you to want to maybe lore her skills to make this easier on yourself. To me, Olga is a really good candidate at 10-10-10, but it really just depends. Now, that's the first 2 ascension stages for her first skill. The 3rd ascension stage changes things a little bit. You can see it reduces her own skill's cooldown by 2, but now instead of increasing NP damage up for herself, it increases the party's attack for 3 turns by 20%, and the party's critical damage by 3 turns by 20%. So now she's moving into a little bit more of a supportive role and party-wide role in her 3rd stage. She'll still gain the crit stars, seal all the enemies, and reduce their healing received, but there will no longer be that card shuffle in the 3rd ascension. Her second skill here in the first 2 stages is going to just charge her gauge by 300%. This doesn't even level with the skill, so it is what it is. In fact, the only reason to level this skill is actually just straight up for the cooldown reduction, in my opinion. Because while, yes, leveling the skill does reduce the amount of damage taken whenever you use this, it's really not going to be that big of a deal unless you are fighting a longer form fight, which in stages 1 to 2 you probably wouldn't be, but it just depends. Now, her second effect here is going to be that it overcharges her own NP by 2 stages 1 time for 3 turns. Definitely a strong effect, but this is something to pay attention to, because as we slip into stage 3 now for the Ascension, you guys can see that her 3rd Ascension instead changes this skill to now she charges her own NP by only 20% instead of 300%. And she will also charge the party's NP, including herself, by another 30%. So this turns her into a party-wide 30% charger, as well as 20% on top, making her self 50, but giving 30% to everybody else. So it's really, really strong, capable skill. This is also going to overcharge the entire party's NP now by 2 stages, 1 time for 3 turns. It's definitely another nice effect, still on that 7-turn cooldown. Her third skill is going to have another laundry list of effects in the first 2 stages. You can see you can only use this skill when you have 100% gauge or higher, and regardless of however much you have in terms of charge, it will drain all of it. It drains 300% charge, which you can only go to 0. So even if you've charged her 300%, it would consume all of it. But you're going to have to be a little bit tactical as to how you use the skill, but let's look at what the skill does before we talk about that. So it's going to increase her own damage against the 7 Knight class enemies for 1 turn of up to 50%. This does mean that you're going to want to pick and choose when you use this skill if possible, potentially on the 3rd turn of a 3-turn cadence, but this is also going to cause some issues because of the full drain effect that it has. It's also going to increase her own buster performance and the party's buster performance each by 3 turns. You guys can see the self is 20 and the party-wide is 30. So again, another 50% steroid for herself, but 30% to the rest of the party. And then the party's extra attack performance for 3 turns also gets increased by a whopping 100%. Now keep in mind, this is in her 2nd ascension, so she will still have the ability to lock cards. So it's definitely a nice buff here for that. You can also increase the party's critical damage and NP generation rate for 3 turns, with that being 30% and 50% respectively. And then on top of all of that, grant the party ignore invincibility for 3 turns. So she does a metric ton of actual effects here. All of this on a 7-turn cooldown. Now I mentioned the strategic use of the 3rd skill here because of the drain. There's a couple ways you could deal with this. One would just be to simply carry enough charge in the composition in order for this to work. The other is by starting her out with something like a K-scope, that you just naturally have it at the beginning of battle. But keep in mind, remember, the 7 Knight class advantage will only be for 1 turn, so that is going to be the tricky part of this skill to use. The other potential capability is that you use it right off the bat. You get cooldowns enough that you get back to it so that you can use it again by turn 3, or that you have somebody use this in a support capacity if you're running a double Olga setup. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit, as we're going to have a breakdown for you guys in some of the potential comps. Her 3rd stage is going to change this skill, though. It's basically going to have similar effects, only now it's going to increase damage against all extra class enemies, including beasts, that are available to you by that 50% for 1 turn. So instead of it now being the 7 base classes, it is now the extra classes instead. Still the party buster performance, but no self-buster performance this time. The party's extra attack as well, but remember, you would not have the ability to card lock in the 3rd ascension for her. But maybe if you're using another Olga in the first 2 stages, you could set that Olga up with this buff. And then increases the party's critical damage, NP generation, still the same. But now at the end, instead of having invuln pierce, we now have party-wide invincibility for 1 attack 3 turns, and debuff immunity for 3 turns. So again, a little bit more into that supportive capability in her 3rd stage. Her passive skills get a little bit crazy here as we move on. She's got Territory Creation A for Arts Performance, Item Construction B for debuff success rate, Divinity EX for just a little bit of flat damage being added, Independent Manifestation, which is a beast trait, as well as just in general archers and things like that. Defender of Humanity EX, which is a unique one for her, which grants herself the gut status against any threat to humanity enemy for 1 time. It survives her with 5,000 HP and is stackable with other sources of guts. It will also change her extra attack into an AoE attack. This will always be active. Keep in mind that the basically the damage in the star generation is going to be halved by it being an AoE attack, but it will be basically applying to everybody. So while it is cutting it in half, you're now applying it to up to 3 targets potentially there. So there you go. You're going to still get even more bang for your buck by this being the case. And it does specify that the damage is not halved if there's only one enemy. So you will still get the full brunt of everything, even if it is technically an AoE attack. She also has another unique passive here called Backlight EX. This grants herself on Guts an activatable buff, so that whenever she has a Guts activated, she will increase her own Buster performance by 20% for 3 turns, grant herself invincibility for 1 attack 3 turns, which is stackable with other sources of invincibility, and charge her own gauge by 10%. The downside is she has a 500% chance to reduce her own max HP by 1,000 for 3 turns. The upside is, if you got your Guts popped, you probably wouldn't care, and you're probably not going to be back to full within 3 turns anyways. And then, basically, we now get to talk about her append skills. Now, already throughout some of the comps that we've devised with Olga, we've seen some really, really useful things. To me, arguably the worst one is, ironically enough, her anti-pretender attack damage aptitude with her 3rd append. But given the fact that she does have that capability in her 3rd ascension to have extra damage against pretenders, this, in theory, is still not that bad. The 4th skill, also having special attack finesse improvement, might also not be that good, just depending. More crit damage is always welcome, but at the end of the day, you probably have higher priorities. Particularly skill reloading, the 5th append, probably going to be one of your biggest ones. Another one will also be mana loading, especially if you're using her in her 3rd ascension, as remember, she will not have the whole 300% charge gimmick there. Instead, she's going to have 50% for herself and 30% for the party. So if you're running her alongside Ace or another Olga, you're going to get some party charge out of them, but having something like the mana loading would just make you get to that first NP all the easier and not have to worry about it too much. And then obviously the extra attack finesse will have some additional value given the fact that, again, it does turn it into an AoE attack, and if you are using that 3rd skill, you're already getting a 100% boost. Why not get 50% more from an extra attack append? Now, looking at her Noble Phantasm, this is the same regardless of her ascension. This is going to be a 5-hit AoE Buster attack. It will reduce all enemies' quick arts and Buster resistance before damage goes out by 20% for 1 turn. It's then going to deal damage to all enemies, increase the party's attack for 3 turns, and charge the party's NP gauge by 10%. It will also charge the NP gauge of any allies that are man, star, or living human attribute by 10%, of which no matter her form, Olga is. So therefore, Olga will always get 20% on the back end of her NP as if she was like a saber face like Artoria or Lartoria. So it's a really interesting thing in that regard. But it is something that, depending on your usage with, say, someone like Oberon, you maybe need to be careful about the drain effect on the back end of his charge. But as long as you structure things appropriately, you should be good. Now, the interesting part about this is the attack up effect for the party actually scales with NP level. And it first jumps by 10% as you go to NP2, and then another 5% by NP3. Though then admittedly you only get 5% more by NP5, so it does start to degrade a little bit. But it is an interesting thing that they didn't just make her damage outright scale, they also made one of the buffs on her NP scale, kind of to incentivize everybody to roll for a little bit more, almost like they had just given out a insane sum of quartz. But I digress. I did hear FGO managed to hit #1 in sales again, despite them giving out 1,000 quartz to a lot of people. So it is what it is, but I'm going to say this is definitely an interesting thing that they've designed her this way. Her overcharge effect deals extra damage against enemies with man or star attribute status, so she is basically going to be super effective against them. It's definitely an interesting thing for her, as she already has quite a bit of capability nonetheless. So that is her overall kit. Let's talk about some craft essence suggestions for her. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of times you're going to be able to start from 0 with her. Therefore, things like Black Grail, Rising Mud Rain, if you've got the super effective overcharge, or even like Heaven's Feel, anything that you can think could work from 0% starting charge. Angel's Song, Dragonkin being the 4- and 3-star versions of this type of CE would be effective. but there's also some other good welfare CEs and Cs where maybe if you didn't have something like Black Grail that could still be useful to you, something like Heroine Ellie Chan's Adventure, Demon King of the Sixth Heaven, Pharaoh Chocolatl, and Valentine's Witches could all potentially be good. Now, that's for the first two forms. We're talking about the third form, though. Specifically, this is where Valentine Witches would be a little bit better because, again, in the first form, you're probably not going to need the Invuln Pierce. So, as we look to something like that, starting her out from 0, that could definitely be a thing because we do have the 50% charge mechanic. Something like Cranking can also be really good. Seaway Meteor Shower is another decent one that would also provide the Invuln Pierce. Summer Break is one that we just got here on NA from the male summer banners. This one is Defense Ignore that could work. So there's a lot of potential capability for different craft essences. And like we mentioned, there's other things like K-Scope where you can start her out at full and manage to get away with a little bit of stuff. So let's talk charge scenarios for Olga. On screen, you guys can see 3 different scenarios that we kind of mocked up here, including one in her first and second ascensions with her 5th append. And then also utilizing Merlin, Koyanskaya, and Oberon. Definitely some interesting capability there as you'd be able to get back to her 100% charge by wave 3. Though technically in that scenario, you don't even need Oberon. You could just make do with just about anybody that can provide an additional 20% there. Or just take a double 50% charger if you really wanted to. You don't even really need the extra 20%. You basically only need, in that type of scenario, Koyanskaya and 30% to make this sort of thing work. And then in the next one, we have Olga in Ascension 3, also with the 5th append unlock. This one, we're going to be starting her out with still no charge, but basically giving her kind of her skills right off the bat to get the 50% and still getting back to it, because we'll be utilizing a single Koyanskaya plus her first skill for the cooldown reduction combined with the 5th append in order to be able to get back in time despite that 7-turn cooldown. We would be using double Oberon in this scenario to make it work, and you guys can see it is capable. The only issue with something like this might be the order of operations, so just be careful with that. And then, as you can see here in Ascensions 1 and 2, if you manage to have her her mana loading and cooldown reduction appends, basically you would be able to operate, assuming you started her out kind of operating with the 3rd skill popped here, but it'd be the same deal where you did double Oberon and Koyanskaya. It's just going to be one of those deals where this is a little bit more possible due to the ability to get back to the charge, but it's because she's in the first 2 Ascensions that she can give herself the 300% instead. Now that's just 3 of the scenarios, and we didn't even talk about other things like sort of multiple damage dealer setups or double Olga setups. So on screen, you guys can see in our typical like lotto guide format here, a multiple damage dealer setup here with Ace and double Olgas. This is just each one of them supporting each other. There's no craft essence requirements. All we require is an Atlas Mystic code, but there are some hefty append requirements for at least one of the Olgas. So it's definitely something that maybe not everyone will have, but it is an interesting proof of concept for being able to do it. Just really pay attention to the skill order in something like this. It absolutely does matter. I'm sure chat can attest to the fact that I messed this comp up due to fat fingering it myself a couple of times. So it is what it is, but it is an interesting and fairly speedy and low support usage comp. So definitely a nice thing that people would like to see. There's also the capability of running double Olga with something like Mash in her Paladin form. Again, this one's going to be both in the 3rd Ascension, and this one's actually pretty snazzy as there's no real append requirements other than Mash having her Lord mana loading append. So this doesn't require any Mystic Code particularly, any Craft Essences particularly, and that makes it really wide open. The only downside would be that you would have to NP basically with Mash and Olga in the first turn. So that would be, you'd be adding a 4th NP, but it definitely is a thing. And there are other compositions that you guys can try to run, maybe a little bit more down and dirty, no plug suit type of comps. Olga's a very versatile unit, both with how much charge she has baked into her kit and her cooldown reduction. So feel free to experiment with her and play around, and I think you guys will see there's quite a lot of capability, and we'll go ahead and we'll show you guys some of this. Let's take a look at her actual, like, raw damage output. This is just Olga under her own, like, power, no external buffs coming in, just neutral damage. You guys can see basically the top part here is going to be Olga in the first and second ascension. Essentially, the left side over here is going to end up being your no skill 3 usage. Your right side is going to end up being with skill 3 usage. So you can see the numbers here don't look too stellar, but keep in mind this is not looking too deep into the capability, like getting expanded with things like Black Grail and stuff. So obviously this is just her under her own power. You're not going to see too high of numbers because of that. And then on the bottom we have Ascension 3 Olga with self buffs only. The left side again with no skill 3 used, the right side with skill 3 used. And you can see a little bit more of a flattening out of the damage. You're not going to get as much if you have her in Ascension 3 because it's a little bit more supportive. It's a little bit more party oriented. So that's where Ascension 3 is really going to come in handy if you're trying to set up other units or you're trying to work her with another Olga. And then now let's take a look at actual damage numbers in a proper composition with supports, with like optimized skill usage and craft essences. And you guys can see still neutral numbers displaying here, but you do at least have quite a bit of a damage jump. The first wave definitely going to be a little bit more on the anemic side, but if it's star or man attribute, you get a little bit more. Obviously, by wave 3, with the Oberon coming in there and actually providing his steroid, you would get a lot more damage. Doubly so if you're at NP2, you're going to get a lot bigger of a spike, as is normal. And then Ascension 3 would also be very similar. What I think is actually quite telling is while this is a double Oberon composition here, the damage fall off is not very significant with just raw NP1 damage. The second you start getting into the niches, though, there is a pretty sizable drop in capability. Again, that's just going to end up being sort of the difference in the two forms of her ascensions and the kits. Again, the first two forms having a little bit more offense, and that really showing there. And then again, same deal here as we start to look at NP2, as the gaps actually get wider because of that. Now, next up here, we have another interesting composition. This would be Merlin and Koyenskaya in the first two ascensions with a level 100 K-scope. You might be thinking, why would you run her with a K-scope? This exact same comp works with Black Grail. Because this would be the composition that you would want to run if you maybe wanted access to the third skill right off the bat. So you could potentially start her out with a K-scope, MLB, have that 100% charge, pop the third skill right away, and then instead charge her up to full and have her kind of go through the paces. So it is an interesting way of doing things, and it would prevent you just bricking the entire 300% charge from her second skill. Obviously, the trade-off for something like this is going to be damage. So in that regard, probably not worth it unless you're trying to like card lock meme, but it is an interesting proof of concept nonetheless to see something like this. Next up here, we also end up having the damage projections for the normal composition, but this one's instead going to be with Hero Ellie instead of something like Black Grail. That's naturally going to impact the damage, obviously, especially due to that Oberon synergy with Black Grail. You do have a little bit of synergy with something like Hero Ellie that actually has some NP damage up on it, but it's not going to be as good. Same thing here, this is going to be Ascension 3, but this one is instead with a level 100 K-scope for the obvious reason of, yet again, being able to pop the third skill a little bit earlier. So it's up to you to determine if this would be something you'd want to do, but keep in mind with each one of these comps, it's a little bit more suboptimal by doing so. This one is going to be Ascension 3 with the 5th append, a Koyenskaya of Light, 2 times Oberon, a level 100 attack CE, basically 20% NP damage, which is just kind of a generic setup. There's a lot of CEs out there that can get something like that. So this doesn't assume any sort of starting charge. It doesn't assume any other additional effects, but just kind of a baseline number for you guys to kind of look at here. But let's go ahead and let's compare to somebody like Metatron John that just came out on JP with Ordeal Call 4. So Meta John's kind of best composition there is going to be something like Cranking. This is naturally going to impact damage numbers. So as you guys can see, it's actually not going to be as good as some of you Olgas. And you may be thinking, why are we comparing a ruler to you Olga? Well, think back to the beginning of the video where I told you guys that a lot of you Olga's actual capability kind of works the same way as a ruler. So comparing against rulers is actually a pretty fair and interesting comparison. But you can see there is quite a bit of a damage jump against another Buster ruler there. And then obviously we have units like Karen that are out there that are still kind of just pushing the envelope for the type of raw damage output that a sort of ruler can do. Karen has long been one of the top dogs in that class. And we also have young Moriarty coming in here at about 420. So both of them compare very favorably to Olga at this point, with her kind of coming in here only really beating them if the star or man niche is in play for her. Otherwise, they are just going to end up kind of having a better overall performance than her. So that is an interesting thing nonetheless. The difference is that Olga will be more versatile than they will be. Olga will have that capability to be at least semi-effective against some of the other either extra classes or base classes. So that's going to be a feather in her cap that they will not necessarily have. And then interestingly enough, like I said, she's like a ruler, but she also has effectiveness against foreigners. So comparing to Kukulkan is another interesting one. And you guys can actually see if it's man attribute, ironically enough, you have Olga managing to kind of come in here and actually out damage Cuckoo point for point against that, which I find just actually insane. So where Cuckoo really does win then at that point is against Earth and threat to humanity niches. But it is interesting to see somebody take something from Cuckoo at this point, given that we all know just how powerful Cuckoo is. And this is just Cuckoo with Cranking. There are things you can do, including using Kuro, who's now out on an A, to manage to stretch this to get her to something like a Black Grail. So at that point, I do think it's still a real testament to the power of Kukulkan, but it's also showcasing a little bit the capability of Olga that she does compare pretty decently favorably. Though admittedly, if it is neutral, there's no sort of like man or star or earth attribute at play here, you would end up having Cuckoo be a little bit stronger than Olga in P level for NP level. And then just for pure neutral comparison, here is Arcuid, a Moon Cancer, against, Olga's actual damage output. And same deal here, if it's neutral, Arc actually manages to pull ahead, but if it's in, the man niche, Olga's going to end up pulling ahead. The area that she would maybe do so is if it's chaotic or both for Arcuid. That would be her favorable sort of pairing compared to Olga just having the man attribute in that case against her. So it is another interesting one to see, but I do think you Olga is an extremely capable and extremely padded out unit in terms of all the laundry list of effects and capabilities that she has. She's not a gotta have type of unit, I suspect, but she is definitely one of those units where I would say, as I have before, that she is strong enough that everybody should consider her and decide for themselves. Make up your own mind as to whether or not this is a character that you want and need. Don't necessarily listen to other people and let them tell you, because this is a character that is at least meriting your attention. And I will say, don't look the gift horse in the mouth with regards to the card lock. We have seen how strong that can be on Seal. So imagine being able to card lock right after her NP, or just straight up card lock to take out a single enemy wave. All of that is technically possible. So it is something that I think is a legitimate tactic for her that can be abused. So again, let me know what you guys think about you, Olga. Are you guys going to roll for her, or did you already roll for her? And how do you feel about her current implementation? What's the thing you like the most? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys for the next one. That wasn't too long, right, chat? I managed to get through that actually pretty fast, all things considered. I'm waiting for Summer 10 Gotcha. UOM is someone I don't care about? Damn. Wild statement. You did great. Congratulations. Another one done. You forgot to say subscribe, my dudes. I'm sorry. I'm a shit content creator. I feel bad. But yeah, no, I'm happy this one's done because I kind of dread it whenever we get a unit like this that has like multiple effects. Because I feel like as I'm explaining it, I can like feel the audience's face just melting as it's like, what? So it's like, I completely understand because I'm sitting here trying to like read you an encyclopedia of effects. That's why I try to like sit there and like interject with like points of consideration so that you have things to think about and things to understand about it. She's not that complicated. Yeah, I think like once you kind of learn the TLDR of just kind of using her, you begin to realize like, hey, this is pretty easy to do. But I think processing everything, and this is one of those units again where it's like people are gonna forget stuff like this and this are in her kit because you're gonna be so focused on like doing other stuff. Like everyone will be focused on like the charge scenario for Olga, and they're gonna forget about like legitimate other things, or again crap like that. Also like the video for aura farming. That's right. We don't need another Summer Kuro. No, okay, chat. Summer Kuro's not the bad one. Okay, it's not Summer Kuro. What? I just they don't need conditional like traits like that. Holy crap. My grand right there. Yeah, she's a good unit. I just like I hate that they like laid it all out that excuse me that way. Okay, chat. Let's talk Medea and Muramasa. And let me close all of these extra tabs. Because there are a lot. Hey, bro, Wait, did I just close the... When did we get this? London chapter release. It's been that long? I legitimately forgot that was the thing. Yeah, it's the one thing they were afraid to give Aoko. The fact that when a single enemy remains, her extra attack and buster, instead of AoE becoming a single target, is at full power again. Yeah. Yeah. I've said it before, I'll say it again. People don't like to hear it, but Aoko is just admittedly a much hotter and like well-polished version, but Aoko is basically 5-star Jekyll and Hyde, and I hate that for her. I feel like she deserves a little bit better. She's not a bad unit by any stretch of the imagination, but I will admit, since getting her, I have barely used her. So yeah, she's very fun to use, but it really feels like they sadly kind of gimped her in some annoying ways. But who knows? Maybe we get some improvement down the line. Maybe they actually buff Aoko to fix some of that. So, what did Cad say? Muramasa? Muramasa? I say that because Trubs calls him that. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it's just the awootism in all of us. Okay, hold on. What am I dealing with here? Do that. Do that. Do that. Do that. I can do. All right. Let's record. The screen behind you is black. We can't appreciate Buntoria's full potential. Take it up with the editor and complain to him. But no, it's fine. It'll go away after this. Okay. I'm the butt block. Oh, okay. Hey guys, my name's Kadroth, and I'm here to talk to you about the first two buffs for, again, the JP anniversary. So, interestingly enough, I did call one of these correctly, but I did not call how they did it, nor did I call who got the saber buff. So this is an interesting one. Naturally, I think everyone would probably agree that these are two very strong buffs. So both Muramasa and Medea got the attention here on day one. And we'll continue to go over each one of the buffs here. I did, in the anniversary recap video that we just put out, predict the, how do I say, like the upcoming strengthenings to a degree. So feel free to go check out that if you want to see who I think maybe has a good chance of getting it. But let's be honest, the devs have kind of a huge deficit of time to make up for with buffs. So no matter how many buffs they do at this point, they're still going to have even more people that need buffs. So it is what it is. And I understand that some people maybe prefer other units to get them. There are a lot of units that are possible. And I could talk a little bit about that with each of these as to what I think overall about the standing of this unit choice for the buff. But needless to say, it is an interesting thing to see how the devs do their buffs down the line here with these strengthenings, and not only who they choose, but the manner in which they choose to buff them. So let's start off here with Muramasa. Obviously, there were some people that really just wanted Muramasa to get some love. I think a lot of that was due to, you know, units like Void Shiki that absolutely needed it far more than Muramasa. got the love and actually had been managing to outdamage Muramasa, and then later on Takaru, who comes out and just has a pretty bonkers kit, him or herself there. So at the end of the day, I think when we look at Muramasa, a lot of people did feel the need for him to get damage. For me personally, I always felt like Muramasa has one of the best kits in the game. He actually just straight up has the best kit of all sabers, if you ask me. So in that regard, the one thing that was holding him back, especially since he was a Black Grail looper in his own right, was that his damage was maybe not the best. And I think that was actually smart of them to do. Unfortunately, the devs don't agree. So they've come down here and they've actually given him an NP interlude. So you guys can see his NP interlude was, or his NP was already a damage increase with NP damage for 3 turns by 10%. Also removing all enemies' offensive buffs, and then dealing defense-ignoring damage to enemies. On top of the art's performance up for 3 turns activating first, meaning he just gets stronger every time he loops. That's the base version of his NP. Now, instead, you guys can see they actually end up just increasing the scaling of the NPs. Nothing too much there to write home about. They don't touch any of the other base effect. They actually come back down in here into the overcharge effect, and they give him Buster and Quick Up performance for 3 turns activating first. I'm not going to lie, I kind of have to complain. I know other units, like for instance Buntoria, that have a tricolor buff on the back end of their NP, and it is strong, yes, but it is single turn duration always, and it is not something that just kind of keeps going and stacking. So this turns Muramasa into even more of a carding monster than he already was. Muramasa already pretty infamously had a ton of crit damage in his kit here. As you guys can see, he had 100% on his skill base, and then an additional 100% if the enemy was stupid enough to be evading or using invincible against him. So 200% crit damage. And the only thing really holding his card performance back is the fact that his steroid was a single turn buff duration. And they just basically gave him a 3-turn steroid that's going to keep stacking every single turn. I have to kind of question what the heck the devs were doing here. Obviously, there's a desire to make Muramasa stronger, to have him keep up in damage. But there's a point where I have to say, you took the unit that had the best kit amongst all the AoE sabers, and you made it stronger? Like, really? Muramasa did not need that. Let's be real for just a second here. Like, this is actually kind of stupid. Muramasa's one of those units that his kit is fairly close to perfection. There's no real way to stop him. There's nothing you can do. He removes offensive buffs. He pierces invuln. He punishes you if you are dodging or invuln. And he also pierces defense. You can't do anything to really reduce his damage. The only thing that you could try to do is try to debuff him, or try to somehow like manage to like buff block, or again like NP seal him. That's the only thing he really can't deal with is debuffs on himself. But you do have units out there like Castoria that he naturally functions with that can also cleanse off of her NP. So this starts to get a little stupid when you start to think about it. And I think this is something where over time I've said for a lot of people that Muramasa just naturally had such a strong kit that it's difficult for another unit to outpace him. If Muramasa is on top in damage, there's really no thing that you can say that another unit provides that Muramasa doesn't at least kind of dip into. And even then, people would justify it and say, like, well, he doesn't really have a niche. And that's true, except for the fact that he actually still does have the Sovereign niche, which is a fairly wide one still. But it is admittedly only 20% compared to other units having 30 or 50% power mods out there. So it is what it is. I do think, like, Muramasa getting buff is actually not that crazy, especially nowadays with us having, you know, units like Salter out there that are just still just absolutely wrecking a lot of the 5 stars damage output. In that regard, I think you could use this in context to justify a buff like this. And in the past, we've also had similar things. Like, I've seen people question the comma buff, for instance, for her, when the answer to me is pretty obvious that it's a-okay to buff someone like comma, given the super buffs that they have handed Melt over time. When you have extra classes that are invading the niche of a base class, it's not a good thing when the extra class is just wholly better in just about every possible way. So I think that's where, like, some people look at it and they go, like, why did you buff comma? She was already so strong. But in the grander context, it actually makes a little bit of sense. And I think we could use the same justification here for Muramasa. I could definitely see now with a 4-star kind of coming over the top of a lot of the 5-stars that it makes sense to end up starting to buff some of the 5-stars. So while there are other sabers they could have buffed here, Muramasa still ends up making a ton of sense regardless of that. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at Muramasa's buffs. So you can see on the left side here, he had his normal damage numbers. These are all neutral under his own power, so no sort of external buffing from a support or anything like a craft essence equip. Just neutral under his own steroids. Now, keep in mind, this does include his attack up from his, or sorry, not attack up, his card type up from his steroids. So you do get a little bit of damage variance there in that. And you can see here, he does have the King niche that does improve things. But now, after the fact, basically, his King niche has almost become his actual normal numbers here. And it is an interesting thing to see that basically the easy way to translate this is that his NP2 became his NP1 and his NP5 became his new NP2. So that's the way a standard upgrade works, and obviously the only extra additional would be that he did get that extra like card type up buff on his NP for the quick and the buster card performance. Now, here is Muramasa both before and after in a proper composition. Double Castoria, Oberon, level 100 Black Grail. Some of you guys might not have that, that's fine. It's just meant to show you guys just kind of like the sort of maximal like damage expectation with a normal Muramasa. So at that point, you guys can see he's going to end up at about 297, almost 298 here on wave 3 with that that Oberon spike there coming in. And naturally, the King trait's going to be a little bit more with NP2 providing a little bit more output. But this is the before the change buff. After the change, again, that NP2 number became the new NP1 number. So you can see Muramasa basically just got an extra 100k added in the optimal situation for him. It is definitely a nice buff. So what does this mean in comparison to, say, some of the other AoE sabers, particularly the other AoE art sabers? Well, unfortunately, this is not very good for Shiki. And I hate to say it, but Shiki now, in a weird way, needs another buff. Because, unfortunately, the only thing Shiki has over Muramasa is instant death. And that really doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, Shiki does have things like Invuln Pierce, but Muramasa also has that sort of thing. So, at the end of the day, I don't really know that it matters at that point. And we can look at this and say that basically Shiki has had a long road to travel to even get to the point where she could out-damage Muramasa, let alone Black Grail Loop in her own right, as somebody that had a one-hit NP for a long time there with no real charge to speak of. So I feel a little bit bad for Shiki in that regard, because she is kind of now left behind by this change. But hopefully we'll see some additional buffs in the future that'll help that out. And then Takeru is another interesting one now. To me, Takeru has been one of those units that was kind of maybe a little bit too strong when they were released. I can kind of see why to a degree, but naturally there's some issues there. Takeru has very wide niches as both divine and demonic. You can see quite a bit of damage output there for Takeru, and you do have that ability to deal maybe a little bit more damage. And that's maybe something, at least to one enemy, that's maybe something to consider, that while Takeru has some special conditions for damage output, and maybe the numbers project a little bit higher than they actually are, we can kind of say a similar deal with Muramasa, part of the reason Muramasa's damage spikes so hard in Wave 3 isn't just Oberon. It's also basically going to end up being the fact that that's the turn that he pops his steroid in for a lot of people. So that's where a lot of that's coming, and that's why, again, as you guys can see, the first 2 waves are not even half of that damage output. So it is maybe the concern that someone like Muramasa is going to have down the stretch. But we do have, ironically enough, a pretty similar effect with most of the other units that are in this same scenario of double Castoria Oberon. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I think you guys can see Muramasa just straight up going to be stronger now at this point. And basically, unless you have a higher NP level of Takaru, Muramasa just wins. This is another bad thing for Takaru, because Takaru is a unit that relies on niches for damage. So at that point, if you just have a unit that's kind of raw dogging it out here that just does more damage outright, what reason do you have to take the unit that's in their niche? And this is something I've said for a long time they have an issue with in FGO, because they obviously tried to start that way and operate under those pretenses for a long time, where raw units were base stronger, but the niche unit would be stronger in their niche. Now we just have raw units are stronger across the board in a lot of scenarios, and I personally don't feel like that's actually a good thing for the game's balance, because especially when it comes to the developer standpoint of wanting people to roll, it's kind of hard to justify rolling for the unit that, you know, relies on their niche to do good damage, but then the niche doesn't deal as much damage as just a unit going in raw. So at that point, I think it's just not a good balanced state, and it's something they maybe need to look at. But I digress. This is just immediately one of the reasons why we have to say the devs have to be buffing more units, not less. If anything, I would have liked to have seen them maybe buff 3 units per day here, for instance, at the anniversary, rather than just 2. But it is what it is. So, next up here, we have Medea. Now, Medea is obviously, to a degree, a fan favorite. She is one of the original cast of Fate Stay Night, and I don't know how many of you guys have heard, but her VA has unfortunately passed away. So that has been a big, sad affair for a lot of us, but at least they finally have given Medea a little bit more attention. Now, Medea originally did have an NP interlude all the way back in London that actually, quote-unquote, fixed her NP. Now, when I say fixed her NP, I mean it changed her abysmal AoE scaling from a single target standpoint to now it's full AoE scaling, even though she's still a single target. So to me, personally, while I did expect them to buff Medea, I expected they were going to pay more attention to the NP again and try to fix the fact that she doesn't scale properly like other single target units do. And that's not a good thing, in my opinion. Also, the fact that she still removes buffs after damage, which is a major, just kind of weakness of her kit. It's nice that she has this, but please fix this. Please put the buff removal before damage. Come on, how many times do we have to go through this? We've seen this with other units time and time again, where the death proc is after damage, or again, something like this with the buff removals after damage, and it just sucks. Just put it before damage. Everyone would appreciate it. I understand the lore of it and everything, but come on, guys. This is just one of those things where you're just gimping the unit in effect. So anyways, she had that for a long time. This kind of improved things, but it didn't actually fix things. And naturally, she did have her third skill that she got unlocked from a strengthening, because originally a lot of the units in the game did not have a third skill, particularly if they were 4-star or lower. So interestingly enough, this skill, as it came in as an additional skill for her, removed one ally's debuff so it acted as a cleanse and increased their NP generation rate by 50% for 1 turn. For a lot of purposes, this would just be used on Medea herself, though there were some niche applications where you could cleanse something. But now, instead, we get this skill upgraded. And I gotta admit, it is a really good buff. So you guys can see this is actually going to increase her own and the party's arts performance by 3 turns separately each. So 30% arts up for herself, 20% for the party, meaning she will have 50% arts up for 3 turns for herself now. And this is actually kind of insane because Medea was already somebody that could loop multiple turns in a row due to the existence of things like Castoria, and again, third supports, and even things like charge Cs and stuff potentially if you wanted to. I personally have managed to get Medea to loop 6 times in a row before without really much effort. So it's a testament to her actual like refundability and capability of just kind of going back. Her arts performance with regards to her cards has actually been pretty good because her NP gain rate is actually pretty stellar, all things considered. Doubly so when you get the 50% NP gain up in play and you manage to go like NP arts, you're going to get a lot of charge off of something like that. But I think the natural issue that Medea has always had is that her damage has frankly just sucked. It has never been that good, even after the NP interlude. So this was naturally a bad spot for her. They've come in, they've actually given her the arts buff here, and I really, really like it. On top of that, they also give her party-wide NP damage of 20% to try to help affect this. They also changed the cleanse from a targetable cleanse to party-wide cleanse and increased to the party's NP generation rate now by 50% for 1 turn. This is no longer a skill you are going to need to target. It is now completely party-wide. This means that Medea now has more damage, more refund, and more group applicability. Personally, I really like the buff for her. And I have said before that Medea was a unit that desperately needed some upgrades. It's a shame that the devs forgot about her for as long as they did. The problem that I end up having with this, and the thing that I always warned Chad about, was that when it came to Medea, the possibility of them buffing her put a lot of upward pressure on some of the other single target casters. And part of the reason for that is because single target casters as a whole are a very unappreciated group by the developers. It's not a whole lot of units that are available, and there are plenty of other units that just have not received very much attention at all. Especially one of them would be like Shootin' Caster that has not gotten anything to help out her usability after all these years. Her damage output's not bad, but holy crap, they really need to do something in her favor. Similarly, we have another unit out there like Cersei or Sheba that maybe are 4 stars, so they're 1 rarity higher than Medea, but they as well are kind of not getting a whole lot of attention, and they naturally have issues because of that. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at the numbers here. So this is Medea's self buffs only before damage. Yeah, looks like an AoE number, doesn't it? In fact, it's pretty weak even for an AoE number considering NP5 there. I mean, I sit here and I think about some other 3-star AoE characters, and I think like, no, yeah, a lot of them can outdamage that. So this is a real travesty at this point on behalf of Medea. And now you can see the after damage. So basically, even then, NP2 does not become NP1. Why? Because what we got was arguably better than an NP interlude. What we got was arts up for her and NP damage up, and that is really going to help her output. So you guys can see she does almost double her damage instead. That is a monumental increase for her and is certainly needed and certainly something that was long overdue. After 10 years of kind of just not getting very much love from the devs, I'm at least happy to finally see Medea get a little bit better at this point. Because she always has had quite a bit of utility and usefulness. The issue was always the damage with this unit. Now, as we look at her in a proper composition, this would be in the crazy scenario that you maybe want to like 3-turn with her. Obviously, there's not going to be a whole lot of scenarios that would happen in, but hey, you never know. You can see with 2 times Castoria, Oberon, and a level 100 Black Grail, Medea's actually not looking too bad for a 3-star at this point. Certainly could be better, but I mean, I'll take it. I think the concern here would be that if they ever do come back now at this point and fix the NP, what the heck is going to happen to some of the other single target casters at this point? So I'm happy to see it because, again, I think our 3-stars at this point in time in the game really struggle to go into end game content like 90 plus and plus nodes, let alone anything higher than that. So them buffing and picking up the back of the group is certainly a welcome change for the game, in my opinion. And now let's take a comparative look here at Cersei, who also can do Koyanskaya 2 times Oberon and a level 100 Black Grail. Now the interesting thing here is that Cersei will just win in a 3-turn environment. I think the downside is you can't really get a whole lot out of like trying to get away with or run something like double Koyan on Cersei. She doesn't really have the steroids to double up. And you can see the damage in the first 2 waves because you're kind of holding off on popping the steroids would be a little bit of an issue. So to me, as we compare that to Medea, Medea actually just wins in the first 2 waves and then gets edged by wave 3 by about 100k. So Cersei, I'd argue, is still in a good spot. She manages to weather this buff okay, and I think it's because Cersei at least has had some attention over the years, plus the Buster synergy there with Oberon helping her out just a little bit more. But who's actually dead in a ditch at this point is Sheba. Sheba just legitimately doesn't have anything going for her. It feels really sad because she is also a story-locked unit. She is somebody from the Epic of Remnants, which a lot of people are currently rushing story and skipping. So it feels real bad for her that she just feels like a forgotten unit at this point, much to the same degree that Medea herself has been. And I think that is such a shame. Personally, I hope to see some of the other single target casters here in this round of buffs actually get some attention. I think that'll help. I think it'll help them stand up in the face of someone out there like Melt or Castoria Berserker or Lilith, you name it. But I think that's what it's going to take at this point for some of them to be a little bit more worthy of use. And I would definitely like to see them circle back and kind of get to use the 4-stars a little bit more and maybe get them some buffs, because I do think it matters for them. So again, both these buffs, I have some issues with them, but they're both very strong, and they're both, I think, buffs that the units to a degree needed. I think Muramasa, we can debate a little bit some of his, but naturally the man did need damage, and Medea just needed any kind of attention at this point. So I'm really pleased with these buffs so far. Let me know what you guys think. Which one of the first 2 buffs here is your favorite? Do you have any issues with them? And who do you think is going to be our next set of upgrades? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. I will see you guys for the next one. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps support the channel. And I will see you guys for the next one. Later. That was a longer one. Why did I make that so long? Strong and other people needed it more. Yeah, I didn't even want to get into the Arthur one. Arthur's absolutely dead in the ditch. Like, yeah, if it's Tometomo, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I called that since his release. Like, Tometomo is one of those units where when he came out, he, frankly speaking, was bad. And that's why, like, again, like, I've seen people say, like, oh, you've got, like this unit is the worst SSR, and I'm like, I gotta be honest, I don't see a reason to use Tometomo at all. Like, at least with some of the other units, I think they have a niche. Tometomo really just, it feels like they just designed him with the intention of buffing him and then just didn't. like they purposely released him not as strong, in effect. Dead in a ditch with Lady A laughing in the background? Probably. Honestly, please just make Arjuna's charge 30%. Yeah, I mean, it's wild if they do that, but, like... Tommy also plays oddly, given how his steroids work. Yeah, it's so, like, he has 50% charge effectively over 3 turns in his kit. He can only use 30% of it. And it's like, oh, well, maybe he's meant to be more of an overtime unit. And it's like, you mean like Arjuna? So it's not like we don't already have a unit like that. So it's really just a weird setup. I don't know what they were thinking with him. Even Napoleon's better than Tommy. Napoleon's not bad. Napoleon's actually pretty damn good. At least against Divine. Want to be a single target archer or Tomatomo? Yeah. Let me see real quick here, chat, what I can send over to Okayist. See if I can get him a head start on some of the stuff. With or without you. Why is that one too big? Let me see the properties on this. It is, of course it is. I love how the shorter video is the bigger file size. I will never understand recording. Okay. Takasugi actually needs a buff too. Takasugi, yeah, I think he's another one where, like, he comes out, he's not bad, but his niche is kind of and he realistically just doesn't have the damage output, in my opinion, but it is what it is. I think cooldown reduction and crit damage is his real deal, but that is, like I said, kind of an thing. Okay, chat. I have meme Oriole quests that need to be done. And I have not looked at what any of these are. This is the 3rd memorial quest. I think it is... I actually don't recognize that symbol. Is that an Epic of Remnant? Or is that... Let us eat Olga for funsies? We could, potentially. Is it Agartha? Oh no. Why did I close the memorial quest page? I had it open. I've finally been doing the Olga quest. Yeah, you definitely should. What? Like, I think it's under the countdown. Yeah, there it is. Oh no. Oh no, not that one. Yeah, why are you? Went to all of them blind, I fucked around and found out. Yeah, I believe that. Achilles? No, it's not Achilles. Actually, I don't remember if I think she's in her second form here. Is Medea on par with Shufu for art support now? She's only 20% to the party. So I guess let's see, 20% to the party. She also has 50% NP gain up for 1 turn and 20% MP damage for 3 turns. She's good. I'm not gonna say that that's a bad setup. It's absolutely not. But just trying to sit here and think about that a little bit, and it's like, I don't know. Oh, I should have held off on popping the first skill, because that could have been a free bar here. Although I might be able to get back to it. Yeah, it's a little overkill. They fill different roles, but both are good. Yeah, like it's tough to like compare, really. I think Shufu in a weird way could use some love, but I I kind of worry about like if they give her love, what that means. Okay, let's try that one. It's her skill 3, so she's a bit too bulky for esports. I mean, I don't care for esports. I think esports is its own thing. Like, I think there's something to be said about units that can like taunt on their first skill and kill themselves, but beyond that, esports is usually in the realm of like just min turning shenanigans. So I think there's something that makes one ally a consort you. You know, that might help because it's kind of ridiculous how they've operated at this point. And not a whole lot of charge out of that, but still good. I just hope that Penth just doesn't go ape shit on her. Do I keep Oberon and Merlin in the party at the same time? You know what? Let's try it. Just for the shenanigans. No failure. I don't think I can use this fight for Black Grail animation. Oh no, here. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that, chat. Handling another thing there. The song works with Olga. Yeah. It all dogs go to heaven, so oh wait, no, this is Oliver and Company. Okay, never mind. Still waiting for Quick Merlin? I would love Quick Merlin. Like, everybody thinks I want a Quick Castoria, and I'm like, we have Quick Castoria. It just is, it's like Timu Quick Castoria, because that's what Scotty is. And she's really good. Like, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, what I want instead is I want that sustain. Why did I pull up the Medea? Medea's not what I wanted. Don't. Okay, I thought I got rid of it for a second there, and I was like, oh, it's QSH. I don't know that I want to mess with QSH with Olga, chat. He perpetually charges to max. Yeah, Jalter is the free win here. And I feel like I would like to see or showcase Jalter with her buff, because NA still doesn't have that buff, for the record. Gummy bears? I gotta admit, this is a really good opening for, like, a stupid show. Like, I could probably make up the rest with crits. They tweaked something for this fight, just so you know, Kat. Wait, well, what did they tweak for this fight? Removes all buff from players' front row. Oh, come on, man. Assholes. Not you, chat. Well, single. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I may have to rotate. Never mind. How dare I? How dare I doubt level 100 Jalter? Oh, he gained debuff immunity? Wait, so they made it so that he can block your buff block. Oh, dude, that's so dumb. Actually dumb. This is this isn't a memorial quest at that point. This is a harder version. This is like kind of a super reco. It's like a mid reco. Because this just forcibly slows you down. Shit, I should have put an invuln Pierce C on her then. Because then I would have just been able to coast. I was about to say, bro, if you fucking kill my... I know exactly how this is gonna go, and I frankly hate it. It doesn't matter. He's gonna remove it all anyways. Doable, but it's also a pain. Yeah, this is just kind of dumb. I don't like that they made this change. It's like they realized how players would naturally cheese it, and they said we don't like that. What do I even have on the back line? I don't like, unless he just goes hard on MHX, I don't see how he doesn't just brutally murder Jalter. What? Actually impressed. Actually impressed. Also, yeah, they also killed you with the Mystic Code cooldown thing. God damn it. Oh, thank God. I'm actually surprised he didn't just like pancake like Koyan and Jalter there. I think I got very lucky that he just didn't crit me. But yeah, that like, I don't like that. Don't make a change to a fight after the fact and then call it a memorial. It's like, it's not a fucking memorial then. Though to be fair, that's not the first time they've done that. They did that with the infamous Salter fight as well. Where they changed the AI of it. Okay, this is Nezha? MHX scary. I mean, low key, that invuln did come in clutch there. I just was not prepared for that. Nezha's a bit on the spicy side. Oh, right. Including reserve gets 70% attack down. I think if memory serves, like, I brute forced this with double X. And I think I had, like, well, it's easy. She has low HP. She has low HP, but you have 70% HP down. The good news is her HP goes down each time. So that's like, it's inverse of what you normally do for these sorts of things. Oh my God. hit me with that nostalgia. Turtles in a half shell. Turtle power. You can't just do that to me, chat. That's illegal. I think I just go with it. I think the only change I'm going to make here is I'm going to switch to OG plug in an attempt to stun her. It would probably be, yeah, if it was Super Echo with 1 million HP. Super Echo version of this fight would just be fucking evil. Like, with the 70% HP down turn one. Although, wait, did we get the Super Echo version of this? I feel like we did. Wait. Okay, I wasn't sure if it, like, stripped buffs or something. Yes, yeah. I don't have any cards. Wow. Actually, the fact she still dealt that much is pretty nice. But I think I remember I had an issue with the Super Recco and being able to deal enough damage. I don't remember how I got around it. I don't have any other way, so it's just kind of a sack turn. Still won't be enough. My God. I maybe should have popped my stars there. That might have actually killed. Oh, f off. Yeah, I forgot she just randomly does that at the end of every turn. I don't want to use an NP here. What the heck, game? That is so dickish. Oh, wait, no, she's down to 1 HP. Never mind. Okay. I thought she still had, like, more there, and I was about to be like, what the actual... I have to go with a broken chain because of it. Okay. Easy. I hate that that stunned the one unit that had the fucking arts up. This is about as abysmal as this gets in terms of like, she pretty much has perfect stunned me. Like 3 turns in a row. You could very easily get a different result. Oh, I'm sorry, Chad. I forgot I still have the black camera background. There you go. Stare at Lartoria's ass. All you want. That's my bad. So chat, who is tomorrow's buffs? And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but each of these tickets has a class. Artemis? Artemis would be nice. Artemis is the only single target archer that has an NP interlude. So that probably wouldn't be what it would be. But I would love to see like almost like a Medea level buff there for Artemis. Hey, Blue, thank you for the 35. Wu could use a buff? No. Who is this? This is Doman. Well, that is so unfortunate for Doman because I know the just hard counter against him. And it's a big Omega lull. Yeah, that's hers. Say with tangerines and grapefruits? I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's comma, specifically comma in Third Ascension. Not that the Third Ascension matters for, like, actual gameplay purposes, but because it pleases me. And it is better than the other 2 Ascensions. And chat, you're welcome to be wrong. Max HP up, let's see. Starts with 50% permanent charge. I probably want a Skadoodle mixed in here. Huh? I don't know how that ended up that way, but whatever. Well, I better hope it doesn't get past this. Oh, right, you don't have the Mystic Code. It doesn't matter what I take. Did I need Invuln Pierce for this? I'm the best 3-turn pretender. You're not wrong. I feel like I remember there was another thing here. Yeah, the only problem here is that he can seal you. Wait, did she have black rail equipped? Wait, why'd she have so much starting charge? Sorry, I'm just looking at his brake bar effects. Okay, so he gets easier to kill over time, so I kind of want to do a lot of stuff here. Like, his HP goes up, but he starts losing the, like, hard defenses that he has. Stun him turn one? Yeah, unfortunately I can't. How do I go for the Buster and the arts for the Mighty Chain? Or do I go, like, quick arts just for maximal refund? You can charm him? Yeah. Let's see. I don't remember how much damage this is gonna do. Because it's an 70% NP resistance. Never mind. Never mind. Bro got charmed and got bodied. Now he loses his crit resist. So if anything, I technically wanted... I got Buster sealed, and that's not gonna matter. Oh, I can't party swap. Okay. Got to MP first. Yeah, no, I'm just like, I'm trying to think, like, how do I handle this? So if anything, I don't think I wanted the cards turn one. I think I wanted the cards for this turn, and then I star bomb and shit on him. But like, let's hope this clears. All right, now he loses his defense there. Glad that dealt pretty much the same damage. Stop doubting comma. To be fair, mine on JP is only NP1, but it is level 100. Oh, I'm still Buster sealed. That's so unfortunate. Could I remove it? I could. So that's worth. Is everybody defended? Yeah, he hasn't been able to hit me. Damn, I could have mighty chained. I don't think that clears, but it'll get me close. I just got fucking weight roomed, man. That's so unfortunate. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Oh my god. But yeah, Kama fucks that fight up. I remember a very similar outcome. I think I had much better card distribution, but I basically just charm locked him and made him my bitch, and I just MP'd 3 times in a row when I originally did this on JP, and he died. And it was like, oh well. That fight was way harder with the saber faces. But with Kama just tells that fight, no, I don't care. And you win. And it's that simple. Okay, so next up here, what do we got? Morgan? Alright, so I can't use duplicate Castoria Berserker. Or, sorry, Castoria, Castoria, yeah. Oh, it doesn't even... Okay, I was gonna say, it doesn't even show up. That's interesting. Ooh, who do I want then? This one's kind of nasty. Ooh, wait. Draco probably fucks this fight up. Because the big problem with this fight is, like, if you use double X, for instance, it's like, one, you have a hard time getting the cards and getting back, and two, Morgan just keeps debuffing you, which Draco just will laugh at. So that's probably a good thing. Yeah, she just spams it, I know. Anyone got a Proto Merlin? Oh my god. See, chat, this is like, now you're getting to my childhood. What C do you need on her? If you got like Prismacosmos or anything like it, that's usually the best option for me. Because I can't take a support Castoria, so. Proto Merlin will help if this starts devolving into a shit show. Up it up. 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 Mine is an MLB, sadly. I mean, it doesn't matter. Proto Merlin gets charged per turn due to her own trait. Since Draco's triple buster, why not take OG Merlin? You're not wrong. I think the issue here would be that I'm trying to get a second arts buff, but I could. Actually, no, you may be onto something. Hold on. Hold on, chat. Do I have a Merlon? A Merlon. Yes. Milker's supremacy indeed. Where are you? God, chat, what are you doing? How did you find all of this? Sorry, I'm just pressing buttons now. Okay, I can't take the dupe myself. That's a fact. Right. Is she stunnable? Yeah, I think she is. Okay, we'll send it. This should be good. Hope Ishtar Archer could get a strengthening. Oh my. Ishtar Archer get a strengthening. That's not likely. I mean, like, I'll say that and then watch it happen, right? But, okay, how do I want to play the charge here? This still gets me the 2 arts ups. I also get a buster up. I think I just send that and let it do its thing. See, it's so funny how, like, harder fights become easier with newer units. And this is a, like, common thing. Now, I kind of need Draco to get hit, though, unfortunately. Oh, it's just not enough. Oh, that is so unfortunate. For Morgan, maybe. Oh, damn. I didn't get it. If I had gotten the double proc, that would have cleared, but unfortunately, it was not. I might have gotten more damage if I had gone back and put the other buster card first, but... I think if I remember too, she really hates all versions of Castoria. At least I'll get a bunch of overkill here. Yeah, there we go. As long as she doesn't just insta-gib Draco, we should be fine. Famous last words. Oh my god, dude. Like, what the fuck was that, Morgan? What the actual fuck was that? Holy shit. You know, just no. just no. Oh my god, chat, what are you doing? I always found this one the weirder one, though. It was Scooby-Doo for, like, really young kids. Ugh. Wait, I'm sorry, did she just cleanse? Hold on. Did you cleanse the stun? She guarded it. Oh my god. I think that's actually the better play. Are you kidding me? I get one crit! Bro, what? Not a fucking chance. No way, dude. Not a fucking chance. Like, come on, dude. The game perfect RNG'd against me there. Everything that could have gone wrong did. Chaotic Knopping, thank you for the follow. Morgan rigged the RNG. She absolutely did. I was content to let it play out because I thought I could still win. And then it was like, no. God damn. The only thing I can think of to do is like to reorder the cards here. Because this should deal more than a... This should deal more than a Mighty Chain. Okay, that didn't crit. That didn't crit. And that didn't crit. So 70, 20, 30 is bad. You've got to be kidding me, game. Did I have a crit, chat, when I did 20, 30, 70? Maybe the Mighty Chain to increase crit rate? It may have some value, yeah. No, I didn't. Oh my god. Use an MC skill to reset RNG? I don't think I have one. I don't. Like, what? What is going on? What? Huh? How do I get a crit and it barely deals more damage? Yeah, I'm about to command seal this. Like, not because I can't beat the fight, but it's literally a matter of principle at this point. The QAB did more? I haven't done a QAB, so it couldn't have done more. But yeah, like, if I have to, I will just command seal this. It's just so ass that I would have to. Like, at this point, I'm trying to, like, see if I can RNG her to death. We can try the Mighty Chain. Let's send the Mighty Chain, see what happens. But good God almighty, that is just not... I love how the one, like, unfaux pod card is the one that's the 90% crit, by the way. Holy shit, that's, yeah, see, again, that's even more ass. That's actually the worst result out of all three. Dude. I've never struggled on this fight. I haven't either. Like, this is legitimately the hardest time I've ever had with it. And like I said, it's purely because she got, like, every RNG in her favor. She basically one-tapped everybody that came out not named Draco, and then managed to just kind of hard fuck, like, the RNG in her favor. It's just really poor RNG. Yeah, it is. Like, it happens. It's something where, like, this is why I tell you guys, like, it is good to know how to, like, scuff and good to know how to, like, manipulate the RNG in your favor. Because stuff like this will happen, and there's just not a lot you can do about it. So I did 70, 20, 30. What if I just go in descending order? Shouldn't work, but... See. And this will leave about 14k again. Yeah, 15. Uh, 30, 20, 70? I feel like I tried it. It's rough to do on an emulator? I mean, like, on this emulator, you just close the tab and just reopen. I don't know how, like some of the other emulators might not have, like, that tab stuff, but 30, 20, 70 was just one crit. I need the second crit is what it is. God, that's so dumb, dude. Alright, chat, it's command seal time. I don't give a fuck at this point anymore. I'm done with that shit. The worst part is it could still potentially not kill. Chat, do you know what would have made this kill? If I had the Roman command code on her. Ah. Okay. I think that works. I think that gets me the crit. The fact that I don't have an overgauge scares me. Okay, there we go. God, dude. Like, I should not have had to do that. Mighty Chain would have guaranteed it? No, we literally just did a Mighty Chain. It absolutely, utterly failed, and it was less damage. So, chat, Mighty Chain will always do the most damage, with one exception. And that exception is BBB. BBB will always do more damage than Mighty. And I think, depending on the Mighty... there's also like AAA and Triple Q can do decent damage. I'd have to go look at the breakdown that we did for the Mighty Chain video again. But like, it's like interspersed. It's just understand Triple Buster is damage king. If you have a Triple Buster Brave Chain, that will always do the most. Always. Yeah, that was oof. That didn't need to be a thing. Okay, next up is King Protea. How did this one work? This is the LB7 fight. So she's got infantile regression. Chaos Tide? Was Chaos Tide a thing for this? At the start of battle, at the beginning of the turn, after a bar break, the position of your party members is reshuffled. Right. How did I get through this with the saber faces? What did I do? What sort of cursed thing did I throw out there? I don't know, but it sounds like a job for a grand. I think it's time we had a grand old time, chat. Three-man run? Yeah, that's the idea. You can do three-man. What I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna do a four-man, and then yes, I can get fucked by that, but the odds are unlikely. I think that's what happened on the Saberface run is I did a four-man, and I got like perfect RNG, and I just like won one shot of the fight and made it look like the easiest thing ever. Wait, no, yeah, it is Pretender. Okay. It's unfortunate because I would love to backline Bond. Oh yeah, anyone with Defender can negate it. Mash Paladins one. Oh my god, you could use Seal on this. That's so evil. What the hell, man? There's times where I see something like that and I just go like, devs, what are you doing? Like what are you actually doing? You know what though? I think I'm gonna sneak in the new Summer Mystic code. Where is it? That's not it. There. This is the one we just got on today. This one is nice. It's 20% charge. It does have a dodge. It has star soaking capability. It has arts and crit up. So, like, it is just a nice Mystic code for a situation like this that's going to have some RNG. And RNG was so rancid that a command seal was the only appropriate response. Pretty much. And I tried to get away with not using it, but it was just like, all right, cool. The game hard fucked me. May as well use it. I'm not going to sit there refreshing all night to try and get it. See? So, like, this still works. How do I want to do this? I've got 80% charge. 70, 20. So ideally you want to use everybody else's, not the carry's charge. Because you don't know if you'll get the unit back. Technically, well... I'll do that. Goof Troop? Really, chat? Yeah. First bar down. Oh, what is that MP drain? Oh. You gonna shuffle me again? Oh, I thought it got me for a second there, but thankfully it did not. Unfortunately, Castorias do be looking alike. There you go. It's nostalgia day, clearly. It's a good show. Yeah. I realize now from hearing some of these songs, like I didn't realize how much I like watched like the Disney Channel as a kid. Heavy arms, my beloved, yes. I'm waiting on it, Chad. I'm waiting for it to get shuffled out. The other reason why it's not a huge problem with like a 4-enemy wave here, if she gets shuffled out, is because eventually King Protei would kill someone, but at the end of the day, your unit is in the backline with all their buffs preserved. So like, even if she did that to me, it still wouldn't be enough to actually like defeat me in the end. Why not at this point, chat? Let's 300% this shit. Not because I need to, but because I can. Let's see. So that one's down. Oh, they want me to fight Durga? Ew. Oh, no. No, you did. It's Ordeal Call 3 is the last memorial quest. You assholes. I hate that fight. And yet they keep making us fight that fight. I fucking hate that fight, dude. Like it's not like impossible by any stretch of the imagination. It's just an annoying gimmick. No yeet, no yeet. So we have 2 more to go, chat. But it is basically 11 o'clock, and I figure we'll save that for tomorrow. That way we have a little bit more to do. We do have, again, the Grand System coming out for both Extra 1 and Extra 2 on the 6th. And we have the Famitsu article on the 6th. So there is a ton of stuff coming. Stay tuned. We will have the latest and greatest stuff for all of you in that regard. Obviously, we'll also cover the buffs for tonight/tomorrow on tomorrow. So again, hope to see you guys there for that, and Hollow Ataraxia. Yeah, I forgot about Hollow Ataraxia coming. Let me see who I'll be on, who we can give some love to. Ooh, I'm gonna send you guys the way of Mr. Skyd. Haven't gotten to raid Skyd in a while. Again, valid username. Hold on. Oh, yeah, I'm spelling it wrong. Forgive me, chat. It's been so long since I've rated him, I have not gotten to spell his name right. There we go. All right, now it's working. All right, anyways, chat, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay tuned for more. If you haven't already, follow the Twitter account, the YouTube, the Twitch account. Obviously, follows are free, so you guys don't have to worry about anything like that.
And get on the Discord if you haven't already. We have a great community there. We're always happy to see more faces. We got over 3,000 people on the Discord. I know it sounds hectic, but don't worry, it's not. So I will see you guys. Go give Skyd my love. Have a good evening.